Hello. So, this is what I'm really excited about. It is time for UBL Season 5. So as you know, we've kind of skipped Season 4, because I kind of ended up dropping out of it and didn't have any motivation to record. But we're back for UBL Season 5, and this is exciting because it's singles this time. There is a doubles league, I'm just not participating in it because I've kind of gone off VGC for now. I did kind of VGC for too much. So I'm going to go back to my comfort zone of singles. A lot of people are playing. Well, I say a lot. There's 10 coaches total. And yeah, no, I'm really excited, honestly. UBL is it's like my home for Draft League. It's where I'm most comfortable, you know. It's where I really got started in it all. So it's nice to play play on my home turf while also playing the format I'm most comfortable with, because I played singles for way longer than VGC. So the format originally going to be a little bit different, but we kind of changed it towards the end. So it is, you can draft from anywhere between 9 to 11 mons, and you get a total of 110 points. Which, I hadn't done a draft that was you could pick varied Pokemon, so it's I guess it gives you more of an option for top end, trying to do more top end drafts, which is kind of interesting. But for me, I kind of looked at it and went, okay, 110 points, getting 11 mons and making a draft that actually still looks threatening, I feel like is going to be a little bit more difficult, because that's what I'm used to. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try and look at a team for 10 mons. So I did, and talking about this draft is a little weird, because I had a team, I had 6 or 7 picks, something like that, and I looked at my team and I said, I do not know how to finish this team. I don't know what to do. So I looked at it and went, you know what? I'm just going to redraft it all in Grace. And that's what I did. So, all my top end got replaced, some of my mid got replaced, and some of my bottom got replaced. So instead of doing how I normally do it, where I talk about, where I drafted, what I drafted, and, do it in order, like I normally do, I'm just going to do it, going down in points. So, or just kind of in order that I feel like talking about it. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So, let's start off with what my kind of top end mon was. So there was a core that I used all through Gen 6. And it starts off with a nice little mon called Landorus Therian. Landorus Therian is a very, very, very good Pokemon. It's very versatile. It's got good speed, can go special, good bulk, Intimidate makes it really useful, has Stealth Rocks, has Defog, has U-Turn, has Knockoff, has Swords Dance, has Sub, has Bulk Up, has Calm Mind if you want to go special. Orlando T does everything so well, and just the fact that its main downside is the fact that it's times 4 weak to Ice isn't too bad. It's something you can work around as long as you support it correctly. And it's not hard to support just having an ice resist. That's really it, because its only other weakness is water, so. But yeah, Lander T, honestly, I kind of thought it got, more moves, but, the moves that it has are kind of scary enough, you can Scarf it, you can AV it, like I say, you can set up with it, with Swords Dance, you could Dual Dance if you want to do Swords Dance Agility. You can do some really, interesting stuff. Or you can play more of a defensive role, set up Rocks, Defog, U-Turn, Knockoff, Rocky Helmet, all the standard kind of shenanigan stuff. Lando T has been a good mon ever since its release, back in Black and White 2, and I don't see a day in which this mon isn't good, because 145 attack, even uninvested, if we actually put, 31 IVs, is almost as much as a base 100 Pokemon. Even with no investment. I think that says a lot, so even non-invested Earthquakes still do a lot of damage. Knockoffs are still things that, Pokemon don't want to take. And I've really started to value Knockoff recently. Knockoff and pivoting ability. So, the ability to pivot with Lando and get into different defensive pieces or more offensive pieces is kind of the goal here. So, I kind of talked about a Pokemon that goes with this really well, and that is Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash, originally I was going to go with this whole plan in the first place, but Rotom Wash was a little more expensive than I'd normally see it, so I didn't want to do it. But then, you know, things always came back around, and we got Rotom Wash. So Rotom Wash is a really nice water type. It resists the 2 types that Landorus resists, and it has one weakness, which is Grass, which Lando isn't weak to because it's part Flying. So you've got a nice Volt Turn core of a little bit of a speed gap, but not much. A good special attacker, again, this is something that can go offensive or defensive, you know, Scarf, usually Scarf on Rotom Wash, Specs sometimes. You can do nasty plot stuff. I have Rotom Heat in SXOC right now. So, you know, I'm not unfamiliar with Rotoms, and Rotom Wash is the one I've used the most by far. Electric Water coverage is great, especially when you have Levitate, so we've got 2 ground immunities off the bat, which really opens the door for some other Pokemon that can come onto the team, and not have to worry about it as much. And just basically saying no to ground types is also really nice, especially, you know, like I say, Rotom Wash it's a surprisingly annoying Pokemon to switch into. Just because, like, basically you just want, like, grass types to deal with it. And this is kind of like, you know, the main issue with this top end. And usually I kind of, like, pair this with a steel type. You know, Heatran's a really good example. Heatran's a really good mon to put in this kind of core. But I really don't like Heatran in the draft, because just slap Earthquake on anything and it's fine. A lot less mons get, like, random ice coverage than random Earthquakes, because most physical mons will just get Earthquake. Especially now with high horsepower too, it's like, it's a lot harder to kind of justify Heatran, for me personally, without just running a Shucker on it every week. Lando I can more justify, just because, like, yeah. Also, like, I have a few ways to kind of get around the ice weakness. But yeah, Rotom Wash, great Pokemon. It can burn things, it can, like I say, it can play a defensive role and be a defogger. Again, we've got another defogger. It can pivot, it can Will-O-Wisp, it can play a defensive role, or it can just be offensive with a Scarf or a Specs or whatever. I'm going to try and not ramble too much for this video, because I know I can do that. So, the final part of this core, the top end core of this team, which was one of the main issues with my overdraft. My overdraft didn't have a top end at all. It had, like, Latios, Rillaboom, and that was it. Like, that was my top end, and nothing else. So it wasn't really that scary. But you got Lando, Team Rotom Wash, 2 fairly, like, they can be quite offensive Pokemon, but they can also play a defensive role. And then we get a Pokemon that I don't even need to scroll down for. Mega Charizard X. So, this I think is my favorite Mega of all time. I do not like Charizard as a Pokemon, just because of how much love they've given this damn thing. But this Mon redeems it. Zard X makes me happy. Fire Dragon, amazing type. They made it so you can go physical or special, but realistically with Zard X you're going to go physical, but you have the option to go special. Base 130 special attack is still really, really good. As I say, Fire Dragon is an amazing type. It means you are weak to 2 types. You are weak to water and you are weak to rock. Oh, and weak to ground, sorry, as well. Ground being the big one. You're not weak to water. You're weak to rock and ground, and that's it. You're weak to 2 types. Rock, obviously, like, the main downside is, you know, you start on Mega, so you kind of need to make sure rocks are off your field. And we have 2 defoggers already. And then, you know, the ground weakness, I have 2 immunities. And what's the one type that these 2 don't want to deal with? Grass types. Zardix is one of the best Pokemon against grass types, other than, like, Taunty. But then you're kind of dealing with more of an ice weakness, whereas this is a dragon that isn't even weak to ice. It's got a lot of great resistances, and it hits like a truck. 1 D-Dance can sweep, like, most teams. 2 D-Dancers, and there's no coming back. And it also has reasonable bulk. So you can actually run it more bulky and, like, do bulky DD. Tough Claws makes this one so good. Flare Blitzes from this thing, like, just feel unswitchable at times. And as I say, basically, like, the one real counter to it is water types, but it gets Thunder Punch. I'm like 95% sure it gets it gets Thunder Punch. So, like water types aren't even a true counter to this thing. With EQ, rock types aren't even a counter. Fairy types don't resist the fire. It's not an easy Pokemon to prep for. This Pokemon in itself is one of my favorite Pokemon ever to use in competitive Pokemon. And best believe that I will try to Dragon Dance sweep every single person. not really. There's going to be some weeks when Zardex looks less good, but I can't see a week in which I will go in and I will not see it, like, Zardex being able to win, because that's just what it does. Like, its downside is it has to start as regular Charizard, which sucks. The mon is garbage. But as soon as you Mega, you're only 25% weak to rocks, and as soon as you can play around that, you're good. If you can play around with rocks, which I'm known to draft a lot of removal, and this team isn't much different, you can really make Zardex work. So, next up, what to go with next? Right, yeah, no, I know what to go with next. So, I knew I wanted something fast, because the issue with this core is it's a really great top-end core, but it caps at base 100 speed, and I knew I needed something a little bit on the speedier side. I also knew I kind of needed a bit more of a specially offensive Pokemon, so I was like, okay, specially offensive Pokemon, you know, on the faster side, that's not too far to find. Turns out I'm not a fan of many frail Pokemon because they're frail, because, you know, fast Pokemon aren't usually bulky. The only one really is Taunty, and Fat Rat took that this time, which I was very upset about, because I love Taunty. I was going to use it this season, but I guess not. So, I ended up going with one that I haven't actually used in competitive, like, in a very long time. If anything, I've used it more in the format that it was originated in, and that is Azelf. Azelf hits like a truck, dude. I always forget that this mon has 125 special attack and attack, so it can technically go mixed. Because I'm 95% sure it gets Swords Dance. Does it get Swords Dance? It does not get Swords Dance. That is good to know. But it does get Nasty Plot. And Knockoff. Knockoff was like the main thing I was thinking of about physical. Because like Knockoff, U-turn, suddenly you're just... you're trying to just do taunty things. But yeah, like... Nasty Plot, you give this thing a Nasty Plot, power ups are so funny. You give this thing a Nasty Plot and it can sweep a team. Scarf, Specs, like Life Orb offensive, Sash Lead because it gets Stealth Rocks. This is a second Stealth Rocker for the team, which is really, really nice. I knew I wanted to make sure I didn't, like, just have, like... I wanted to make sure I had hazards, just in case. Obviously, like, if I'm going to be focusing on Zardex, I will want to remove the hazards more than I'm actually going to be, you know, setting them. But having the option to set them, I think, is really important. And with enough removers on this team, which I think I have four. I have 4 removers. So, like, I can keep hazards off my field if I need to. And Azelf, like I say, just, it hits like a truck. It's not, just because of its coverage, it's not easy to switch into, and it gives me that real special breaker that this team would lack otherwise. A really high-end offensive special attacker. And again, another ground immunity, because why not? I've now got 3 Pokemon that are immune to ground, so yeah, like, one of Zard's main weaknesses is out of the way. Rotom Wash covers the water types, and Lando covers the rock types, so yeah, like, this just all works out so well. Like, this top 3-end core is just so good, and then we just need another, like, really good special breaker. And Azelf does that so well, but also can just go physical if it wants, you know. Power Punch, Zen Headbutt, Knockoff, whatever. Why not? It could work. I'm also excited to use Azelf. I love the Lake Trio. I've said this in the past. I used Mesprit in UBL Season 3 for VGC, and now I get to use Azelf, which, I mean, most people is favorite. I prefer Mesprit, but obviously Azelf is amazing. There's a reason why it's the most expensive, because it's the offensive one. It hits like a truck and it's good. So, anyway. So, none of these Pokemon I started with, or at least were intending to start with. I actually drafted Lando during the draft with Rillaboom on my team, just to make sure no one else could get it. But, yeah, like, none of these were, like, intended. This next one was intended, because it's me. Hello, my name is Winder, if you haven't met me. I have been, for Generation 8, I have been a part of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, I've done 3 singles draft leagues. And in Generation 8, and even looking back on Generation 6, there is one mon that always comes on my teams if it can, and that is Florges. It's my go-to fairy. What can I say? I don't feel like I need to explain Florges much anymore. This is... Although I guess, like, I only really drafted it in Season 1, so maybe I can talk about Florges a little bit. Out of the actual singles leagues that I've actually uploaded, like, I've only actually had Florges in one, but Florges is great. Florges is a Pokemon I love to bits. It's my dedicated comfort pick. It's my dedicated fairy type if I want a fairy type. The special defense is incredible. You can run it physically offensive and still have great special defense. Like with no investment, it's almost base 110 special defense, looking more like base 108, something like that. Special defense with no investment. Whereas then you can invest in it, and suddenly you're taking things like Kyurem, which is which is definitely a problem for this top end if I don't have a special sponge like Florges. So, yeah. And then if it goes physical, cool, I go Lando, and suddenly it's not as threatening, and I can deal with it better. So, and I've got other physically defensive Pokemon, so it's not like Kyurem's a problem. This team actually has Kyurem covered very well, which is not something I thought I would ever be able to say, but yeah. But yeah, Florges is great. I've used it in weird ways. Season 2 of GSC, which I didn't record, I used Choice Scarf Florges with Copycat, because I wanted to revenge kill an Excadrill. So that worked wonders. I copycatted a flamethrower from an Electros, and then they switched into Excadrill, and I flamethrowed it, and I was scarfed. And they brought sand, so I knew I was fast. Unless they were Scarf Sand Force, but I don't think they were, which they weren't. So I think they had to switch after that. So yeah, I've used Florges in creative ways. Calm Mind is obviously an option. Defog is one of the main things I really like about Florges, to be honest. It's a fairy type thing, Defog. It's an offensive Pokemon that can come in Defog, and it's not weak to rocks, and I really like that about Florges. So yeah. And then the other Pokemon that really was the only Pokemon that stayed from the original team was a Pokemon we also have in SXOC, which is Registeel. Registeel was my Steel type of choice. Originally, it was actually because of having Rillaboom on the team. And originally, for the Zard X plan, I wanted Skarmory, but I didn't have the points. I did not have the points. Shaman was supposed to be on this team. I didn't have the points. So we got Registeel. I kind of talked about Registeel quite recently, but for those who don't know, it sets Stealth Rocks. It's a really, really bulky Steel type. With Florges, we can actually Wish Pass to it relatively easily, keep the thing alive. And yeah, it doesn't really do much other than that. It can Iron Defense Body Press, which is really cool. It can Curse if it wants. But for the most part, this is a dedicated rocker. Because I didn't want Landorus to be forced into setting Stealth Rocks, I wanted something that could dedicate to set Stealth Rocks. And Registeel just fulfills that role. I like having something that I know I can just set Stealth Rocks with, and Registeel is a really, really good Pokemon at doing that. And since we have Wish Support, we can keep it healthy outside of using Rest. Wish Support also, helps Landorus, who has no recovery, and Rotom who only has Pain Split. So, Zard has a Roost, so that's not as bad, but yeah. So yeah, that is the Florges and Registeel are the only Pokemon that really remained from the original idea, just because it's a defensive core, and what I needed a dragon to fill it. Cool, I got Zardex. Sure, it's 2 ground weaknesses, but I believe these are the only 2 ground weaknesses on the team, and I've got 3 immunities so far. So yeah. So, moving swiftly along, we're just going to keep these 3 here, because these are the top end. So, we're going to move Azelf along for the next pick. I'm trying to think what the next pick was. Because that's sick. Oh, I know what it was. If I do that... Yeah, okay, I know how to finish this off. So, I knew I wanted a Dark type. I like having a Dark type or a normal type on my team, just so I don't lose to Ghosts. I also knew I wanted at least 1 more special attacker. But I also was considering Scrafty for the longest time, and I was really locking myself into Scrafty and saying, I want Scrafty. I will not accept anything else but Scrafty. And then I thought back to it, and I went, you know, there was a mon that I wanted anyway. So the reason why I wanted Scrafty was because I used it in GSC Season 2. And it was amazing. I only even used it like twice, and I think I could have like used it so much more. And I loved it to death. It was amazing. Just like, I brought it twice. It was really, really good. And I was just like, I want Scrafty. And then I thought about it, it's like, you know, Scrafty wasn't even the Pokemon I originally wanted. What about getting the one I did originally want? And so, we grabbed Moltres Gala. This was sort of in the plan. Originally, again, I wanted Scrafty. Moltres absolutely could have been the pick instead. Moltres in... Galarian Moltres in singles is really interesting. Obviously, I used it in GSC? Excuse me. In UBL Season 3. I need a drink because my throat. But, Moltres Gala in singles... I'm just going to call it Moltres. Moltres in singles is a bit more interesting. In doubles, it basically just Nasty Plots and tries to sweep. And in singles, it can very much do the same, because, you know, Nasty Plot is a move, and Dark types are not easy to switch into. Dark Flying is not an easy type to switch into. But you've also got other things, like the fact that it can U-turn, which is really valuable. The fact that it can taunt, which is really valuable. Azelf has the same thing, it can taunt. It can dual dance, which is one of the really cool things about it. Something you don't really see in VGC because you have max airstream to boost your speed, so who cares about agility, whereas you don't have that option. Dual dance, dual stab, you're good to go. You can just win games off that. And with Berserk potentially even giving you another boost, you can also do things with rest, do like rest talk, and abuse Berserk that way. It doesn't really get a lot, unfortunately. It is quite limited in what it does, but for 9 points, and this thing essentially just to sweep games because it can dual dance with like pretty solid bulk, especially like the special side, really solid bulk, and just like decent offense. It's a really all-around good Pokemon. I'm really good at switching into Ghosts because it's great special defense. Obviously, like giving it Roost would have been amazing. I really, really wish it got Roost, but I'm not going to complain that much. So, that is Moltres. Next up, a Grass type, because I knew I needed one. Sure, having 3 immunities is great, but I'd love a Grass type to resist those grounds, and it also fills out my Fire Water Grass core. And I was looking, and you know, with not actually having Scrafty anymore, that meant my Fighting type slot was also freed up, which meant I got to use a Pokemon that I have been wanting to use for a very long time, and that is Virizion. So this thing is really cool. It has a couple kind of main things that it can do. Like, you can just run it Life Orb offensive and just kind of smack things. It's not the most offensive Pokemon, but the speed is really, really nice. It gives me a nice upper speed tier, you know, something between Azelf and Zardex, which is really cool. It's not, this team isn't the fastest in the world, but like, it's good. Like, it's good enough. It doesn't have, it's not the fastest, it plays more into my bulk, but like, still the mons are still like, at least reasonable. It still has an upper speed tier, which I kind of wanted to make sure I had. Virizion, as well, like I say, it kind of fills into that. Got great special defense. I looked at, apparently the average special defense on this team is the highest stats. So apparently special attackers do not want to try and break this. I guess it makes sense with like Florges, Galarian Moltres, Virizion. Registeel kind of bumps it up too. So yeah. It's actually decently bulky on the special side, just 91 HP, 129 special defense. But really, this thing actually kind of functions more as a sweeper. With Calm Mind and Giga Drain, or more likely Swords Dance. Swords Dance, Dual Stab, +1. Kind of wins games. So, it's like, giving this Mono Swords Dance can just win games. I guess you can also, like, can you dual screen? Yeah, you can dual screen with it. That's kind of cool. But yeah, it has really cool options just because like it's a really offensive mon, but it can also play a little bit more of a bulky role if it needs to. You know, Calm Mind Synthesis. I'm seeing like all these setup options and I say it's playing defensive, but really this like it looks like a defensive grass type, and it can be if it needs to be, but for most part this thing is going to try and just like clean up games because of the good speed, the actual pretty decent coverage, and the ability to just Swords Dance sweep people. There's a lot of sweeping potential on this team. Funnily enough, you got Swords Dance Lando, you got DD or SD Zard, you got Curse Register, you've got Galarian Moltres, which can do so much. You got Nasty Plot as well. There's a lot of opportunities to just come in, click a button, and start going to town. Which I'm a fan of, funnily enough. Just being able to actually sweep teams and not play defensive is really nice. Though this team can play defensive because that's what it kind of does. It's me after all. I love my bulk, and team has bulk, but it also kind of sweeps people very, very, very easily. One wrong turn against this team, and things can go pretty bad pretty quick. So, I'll leave it with 2 mons left. The first of which was something I kept looking at. Originally, when I had my original team, I kept looking at this mon and saying, I just want this mon on my team. I just do. It's going to be so good if I just have this on my team. And then I kept saying, no, I need to get other things. And then with this plan, I can put it on my team. So, I think now for 3 of my drafts, welcome back, Weezing. Regular or Weezing. I was looking at Weezing Gala, for reference. And I kept looking at Weezing Gala and going, I just want regular Weezing. It's 4 points less, and all I lose out is on fairy typing and then terrain I wasn't going to use. Who cares? Weezing is really good. For 6 points anyway, it's really good. It gives me T-Spikes as an option, which I do like at least having one other hazard option. And T-Spikes is a really, 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 really good hazard, funnily enough. Just dropping poisons on things, which, you know, is nice, and just forcing switches that maybe they don't want to. The team doesn't have a grounded poison type, which this team doesn't look like it has a grounded poison type, and then you remember that you can actually just run Neutralizing Gas as an ability, and suddenly Weezing is a grounded poison type. But if I have Levitate, then that's 4 ground immunities. So yeah. And then also a Moltres. So half my team is immune to ground if it needs to be. Half my team is immune to ground, and only 2 of those are flying types. Which is kind of impressive. Yeah. But yeah, Weezing is a super solid defensive mon. I didn't get to use it in GSC Season 1, but in Season 2, again, the one that I didn't record, I ended up bringing Weezing to, I think, 4 of my games, which 4 games for out of 10 for a defensive Pokemon in tier, that's worth 6 points. Bringing, one of my lowest valued Pokemon, that much really kind of said a lot. It's a Pokemon that, yeah, it can set T-Spikes, it can burn things, it's actually got good coverage. Clear Smog's a really nice one as well. Memento, I think I've got a couple Memento users that can just Memento and let Zardex come in to just win the game. D-Bond. It's not the, again, scrolling down, it just doesn't seem like it's got a lot, but, I suppose, comparing that to stuff like Mew. But, it has pseudo recovery and pain split. At worst, you can get a Wish Pass to it. And only 1 weakness to Psychic, which I've got a couple of Psychic weaknesses, but then I've got Registeel, I've got Moltres. Most Psychic types aren't really going to break through Florges. But some will be able to, but yeah, you get what I mean. I have options against Psychic types, and again, ground I can avoid with Levitate, so it's really cool. Weezing is a mon that I thought I would like. I didn't get to use it at all in TSC Season 1 because I had I had Tapu Fini, which set Misty Train, which did not work with Weezing at all. And in GSC Season 2, I didn't have Tapu Fini, and I brought it at almost a half my games. And it was the lowest value Pokemon on my team. So yeah, Weezing, good mon. And then that leaves my lowest pick. A mon that I'm really excited to try, actually. I've never used this mon, and I looked at it and went, this mon's actually really cool. I really want to try this. I said before that I kind of like having a dark or a normal type on my team, and this is a normal type that I actually can see myself bringing, despite it only being 5 points. And that is Kamala. Kamala, it's a little slow, but base 115 attack, pretty solid. Decent special defense, makes it a very, very good AV user. But this one just gets way too many things that I didn't really expect. The downside is really the recovery is kind of lacking because it can't rest because of Comatose. But, like, it can rapid spin, it can knock off, it can U-turn, it can wish, it can swords dance, it can sucker punch. My music is going off. I forgot to set up another track. Give me a track, please. I know we're on the last Pokemon, but who cares? There we go. There we go. So yeah, it gets good coverage. You know, play rough, Woodhammer, EQ. Like I said, Swords Dance or even Bulk Up can work on this mon. The main reason I wanted it, I saw it and I went, you know, this one can rapid spin. Originally I was going to get Kecleon as another rocker, but I was like, I've got 3 rockers. Give me a Pokemon that can rapid spin in case I want to play more of a hazard-focused playstyle. And rapid spin on this mon actually, like, isn't bad, because if you run max speed, like, jolly max speed, like, giving this thing a +1 speed is actually, like, reasonable. Because then you can actually do some real damage with it, which is kind of cool. But other than that, yeah, it's a bulky normal type, that can play, that can, you know, it can spin, it's another wish passer, that can actually pivot, can yawn, it has the option to sweep if it wants, but it also can just play as a defensive Pokemon with rapid spin, and I really like that. It can do a cool, like, couple different things that can really help this team out. And again, the main one is rapid spin. I like, again, having knockoff, just because it, you know, it limits options. Make some Pokemon a lot less scary, you know, get rid of Life Orbs, get rid of Specs, get rid of Scarfs that want to try and outspeed. Oh, that's, I guess maybe Scarfs aren't going to be as common against, they might be. You never know. Trying to outspeed +1 Zardex may be a possibility. But yeah, just removing options, removing items, you know, removing leftovers, you know, Rocky Helmets that want to try and punish Zard and Lando and whatever. Like, it can do like a lot for this, just a little koala, which I've never really used, because I kind of said this previously, but I haven't really done, I never did any Gen 7 drafts, so, like, a lot of Gen 7 mons I haven't really used, and so I at least get to use one here, which I'm really excited for, and that is the team overall. So we can kind of see it on the dock here. This is the team. The only repeat typing we have is flying, which is really cool. Types I missed out on rock. Could be a mistake, but I have, like, the main reason for wanting a rock would be a flying resist, and I do have Rotom Wash and Registeel, which are pretty good flying resists. Bug, it's a ground resist, but who cares? Like, I've got enough, like I say, I got 5 ground immunities. So, 6 if you count Zard before Mega, to be fair. And if we count Zard after Mega, like, there's 2 ground weeks on the team. And then 5 immunities and a resist. Like, I got swept by Atlantis T last season, okay? Like, leave me alone. I'm scared of ground types. This team actually has a lot going for it. It's got a lot of great synergies. Like, some that aren't even that obvious. Like, just thinking about it, I thought, wow, people are really going to use knockoff on Azelf. I guess I have Virizion for that because, you know, get a +1 boost. You know, simple things like that. Like, there's a lot of great synergy, and I think Fat Rat put it themselves. I went from having a kind of mediocre, like, oh, that's a team, like, that looks, you know, I've got to worry about a couple things, to, oh my god. That is a team, and I'm really, really happy with the end result. It's got the mix of bulk that I like, and the offense that I like. You know, funnily enough, it's called bulky offense for a reason. So, yeah, I'm excited to use this team. It's got a lot of Pokemon I really like, and some that one that I've never used before. Although technically I've never used Registeel in a draft yet, because I'm recording this before I've played my first game of SXOC. But you get the idea. A lot of these Pokemon I'm familiar with, and yeah. I'm really happy with this team, so thank you very much for watching. Sorry for a little bit of rambling at the end, but I am really happy with the outcome of this team, so sue me, like, I want to talk about it. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Week 1 will be starting very soon. Grace is actually technically going on, but I'm done. Like, I don't want to think about this anymore. I've spent far too long thinking about this team. I just can't wait to get into some games, so. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.